Dear students, today the remaining two stanzas of the poem On Killing a Tree written by G. Patel will be read and analyzed by me in this audio clip. I hope that you have already listened to the audio clip already sent on the first stanza, the second stanza of the very poem, and you have already gone through these two stanzas, stanza 1 and stanza 2, and I also hope that you have well understood the meaning of these two stanzas of the poem. Now today this audio clip is being made on the analysis of the stanza 3rd and the stanza 4th, the last two stanzas of the poem On Killing a Tree written by G. Patel. Before starting my analysis, I would like to say to you, please listen to this audio clip very carefully, very sincerely till the very end, and after that go through the stanzas, and if any difficulty arises to comprehend the meaning of a line or meaning of an expression, please to solve that, to get over that difficulty, listen to my audio clip once again attentively, and once again read that very area or very part or the very portion of the poem, and then I hope there will be no difficulty in comprehending that. Now let's start reading the third stanza. The third stanza, let's see, the third stanza begins with a very particular word, no. The word no is suggestive, is very much significant. Now to know its significance, we have to relate ourselves once again to the analysis of the first two stanzas. Now once again I would like to brief up the analysis of the stanza 1 and the stanza 2. You have seen that the poet has already affirmed that it's not easy to cut down a tree completely. As for reason, the poet has stated that a tree knows how to fight, how to struggle for survival. For a tree grows up for years, or a tree takes a long duration to grow up by absorbing air, water, sunlight, and feeding itself upon the earth's crust. In the midway, when a tree faces a peril, it easily overcomes that and moves on surviving. So it's not easy enough to cut down a tree completely. The poet has already also affirmed that a tree can't completely be cut down even though it is hacked or chopped, or cut down towards the ground level. The remaining part of the tree cut down towards the ground level will heal its blows on it and will shoot out curled green twigs, which will come into complete branches after some duration. However, the poet has represented the tree as greatly resistant, or something who knows how to struggle for survival. So here the very word no suggests the very fact that it's not easy to cut down a tree completely. So the very fact that it's not easy to cut down a tree completely is well suggested by the use of word no. Now the poet moves on to expose or proceeds on to expose how a tree is cut down completely, or to expose the process of complete killing of a tree. The root is to be pulled out. The root is to be pulled out of the anchoring earth to ensure the complete cutting down of a tree. The root of a tree is to be pulled out, or a tree is to be uprooted from the earth, from the soil. Now here the soil is, or the earth is called anchoring earth. Actually this suggests that the earth or soil holds a tree tightly so that it can stand erect on the surface of the earth. So this is rightly called anchoring earth, or this acts as an anchor or holds it tightly so that it can stand straight on the surface of the earth. Now, to ensure the complete killing of a tree or complete cutting down of a tree, its root is to be pulled out from the earth, which holds the tree tightly. Now, how a tree is to be uprooted? The poet has also depicted that in the following lines. It is to be roped, tied, and pulled out, snapped out, or pulled out entirely out from the earth cave. Now, if a tree is to be uprooted, it is to be roped. This means that rope is to be used in a tree. Rope is to be used in the tree, and then the tree is to be tied or fastened tightly with the rope. Then the rope is to be pulled out, or the tree is to be pulled out with that rope, and rightly to be called, the tree is to be snapped out or separated or pulled out entirely from the earth cave, or the tree is to be separated from the earth cave by pulling the rope hard. The tree is to be uprooted, or its root is to be separated from the earth cave. Now the word earth cave is very much significant. Actually, earth cave means gaping hole. Gaping hole which is created inside the earth when a tree is pulled out, when a tree is uprooted. A gaping hole is created inside the earth, and the hole is created up to the depth. Hole is created inside the depth up to which the root has its end. Okay, so earth cave means a gaping hole which is created inside the earth when a tree is pulled out. Okay. and the strength of the tree exposed. Now, when a tree is uprooted or when it is roped or tied with the rope and it is snapped out from the earth, the strength of the tree exposed. This means the root of the tree, which is obviously the strength of a tree, is exposed or gets exposed. The source, white and wet. The poet has described the root of a tree as the source, as the strength of the tree, and he has also described this as white and wet. Usually, the root of a tree is white and wet. It is wet very usually because it remains inside the earth. Inside the earth, with the effect of the water that remains inside the earth, the root of a tree is wet. So the strength of a tree exposed. How the strength of a tree exposed? Once again, I would like to focus on the process as the poet has stated here. A tree is to be roped, or the rope is used in a tree, and the tree is tightly fastened with that rope. After that, the tree is snapped out by pulling it with the rope hard, and then the root gets exposed, or the root comes out of the earth, creating a gaping hole inside the earth, up to which the root has its end. Okay, now here the poet has described the root as the strength of a tree. This is very well-known fact that the strength of a tree lies in its root, and the poet has described it as the source of a tree. Obviously, it is the source of a tree because the life of a tree lies in its root, and the poet has also described it as white and wet. And this is very usual, that the root of a tree is white and wet. It is wet because it remains inside the earth, and with the effect of water that remains inside the earth, it is usually wet. Now the poet has also described his act. They described this as the most sensitive, and this is true, that the root of a tree is the most sensitive, the most reactive. Actually, for the very same reason that the life of a tree lies in its root, so the root is rightly called the most sensitive part of a tree. Now this is hidden, this remains hidden for years inside the earth. Okay, so how a tree is completely killed is described in this stanza. But the process doesn't end here. In the final stanza, or in the stanza 4th, the poet mentions some other steps that are included in the complete procedure of killing of a tree or cutting down of a tree. The 4th stanza begins, Then the matter of scorching and choking in sun and air. So, even though the root of a tree comes out, the process of complete killing of a tree is not yet over. Rather, so far the poet has observed and depicted here, some more are included in the process. In the final stanza, or then in the stanza 4th, the poet has talked about that. The stanza begins, then the matter of scorching and choking. So two steppings are accordingly to be taken to ensure the complete killing of a tree. And this is the step of scorching, or the task of scorching and choking are yet to be taken in sun and air. You know, scorching means drying up in sunlight or in air. And you know, the meaning of choking is suffocating or strangling one or resisting one or preventing one from breathing. Actually, these words, scorching, choking, are related to violence, are related to brutality. Actually, I have repeatedly pointed out that the way people cut down a tree is rather killing of a tree, according to the poet. Actually, the way the poet has described how a tree is killed, how a tree is cut down completely, is ironical. The poet's description inwardly suggests the brutality, the violence human beings unleash upon a tree when they cut it down. Actually, the task of scorching and choking in sun and war, in sun and air, suggests the task of drying it up. After a tree is cut down, it is scorched or it is dried up in sun and air. But that is not the end. That is not the end in the procedure of complete killing of a tree. Rather, some more steps are to be followed. The poet has talked about this in the following lines: browning, hardening, twisting, withering. These processes, these steps are accordingly to be followed to ensure the complete killing of a tree. Browning means drying up in such a way that its color turns brown. Hardening means making it hard. Naturally, if the bark of a tree is dried up in such way that it gets brown colored, it will be hardened. It will be hard enough. Now browning and hardening are to be followed accordingly, and then twisting, withering are also to be followed accordingly to ensure complete killing of a tree. And you know, twisting means wrenching out of normal shape. After browning it, after hardening it, it is twisted or it is wrenched out so that its normal shape doesn't remain, or in such a way that its shape gets out of normalcy, so that no way its sap remains. And finally, it is to be withered. Finally, it is to be withered, or it is to be dried up in a way so that no way, not the least sap remains in it, in the cut part of a tree. And then it is done. After that, after withering, after the task of withering, it is ensured that a tree is completely cut down, or according to the poet, is completely killed. Now here the poem ends, and in the final two stanzas we have seen that the poet has shown how a tree is cut down or killed completely. So dear students, the poem is already completed, and today I shall end my audio clip here. Before leaving, I would like to say to you once again, please listen to this audio clip very attentively and then go through the text. Hope you will understand well the meaning of the final two stanzas of the poem and the poem as a whole. Okay, goodbye, stay safe, stay healthy.